Have you ever felt totally stuck in a loop, doing something you know you don't want to do, and you just end up blaming yourself, thinking you just don't have enough willpower? Well, what if I told you it has almost nothing to do with being a moral failure and everything to do with your brain's basic hardware?
All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to kick things off by talking about the real reason you procrastinate. Then you'll meet the part of your brain that's basically running on autopilot. We're going to uncover this fascinating dopamine trap that keeps you stuck. And then, the best part? We'll get into the nitty-gritty of how you can actually start rewiring your brain.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about something we all know and probably hate, procrastination. But we're going to look at it in a completely new way.
You know that feeling, right? You've got a huge project due, but you find yourself endlessly scrolling on your phone. And then you spend the rest of the day just beating yourself up, calling yourself lazy. I really want you to hear this. That is not a character flaw. You're not lazy. Something else is going on.
So check this out. It turns out procrastination isn't a time management problem. It's an emotion management problem. We put things off to avoid feeling bad. That task makes you feel anxious or bored or insecure. And your brain's immediate reaction is, nope, let's get out of here. Let's do something, anything that feels better right now. It's just a quick, short-term mood fix.
So, to really understand why our brains are so desperate to escape that discomfort, we need to pop the hood and look at the hardware that's running the whole show. This is where your habits are born. Meet the basal ganglia. You can think of this as your brain's super-efficient autopilot. Its whole job is to take things you do often and turn them into automatic programs to save you energy. You know, things like brushing your teeth, driving your usual route to work, or, grabbing your phone the second you feel bored. That's your basal ganglia just running its script.
And this setup creates this constant tug-of-war inside your head. On one side, you've got your prefrontal cortex. That's your thinking brain. It's the sophisticated, long-term planner that knows you really should finish that report. But on the other side, you've got your basal ganglia, the habit brain. And it's basically a toddler who wants instant gratification. It just wants to escape the bad feeling now and run an easy, familiar program like opening up Instagram. So, which one do you think wins most of the time? Yeah, the fast, automatic one that never gets tired.
Now, as if that internal battle wasn't enough, there's a chemical that basically throws gasoline on the fire. You've definitely heard of it, dopamine. But its role in all this is probably not what you think.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever been like 30 minutes deep into scrolling through some feed, and you have this moment of clarity where you think, I'm not even having fun. Why am I doing this? Well, there's a biological reason for that, and it's because the system in your brain that makes you want to do something is completely separate from the system that makes you like doing it.
And this is the trap, right here. We always call dopamine the pleasure chemical, but that's not quite right. It's really the motivational chemical. It's what drives the craving, the desire, the wanting. That actual feeling of pleasure and enjoyment, that liking part, that comes from a totally different set of chemicals, like opioids.
And that right there is the recipe for getting stuck in a mindless loop. Your habit brain remembers that, hey, checking your phone once delivered something interesting. So dopamine kicks in and drives you to do it again and again and again, chasing a reward that might not even show up. You're left with all of the wanting, but none of the liking.
Okay, so that's the hardware that can keep us stuck. It sounds kind of bleak, I know. But here's the absolute best part. This hardware is not fixed. It's changeable. Thanks to this amazing principle called neuroplasticity, you are actually the architect of your own brain.
Think about that for a second. The brain you practice is the brain you have. Every time you give in and procrastinate, you make that neural pathway a little bit stronger. But every single time you choose to do something different, you start building a new road. And the secret to making that new road the default route isn't about using brute force. It's about changing how you see yourself.
According to James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, most of us try to change from the outside in. We focus on the outcome, like, I want to publish a book. But real, lasting change, the kind that sticks, starts from the inside out. It starts not with what you want to get, but with who you want to become.
So how in the world do you do that? It's actually pretty simple. Step 1, you just decide. Who is the kind of person you want to be? And step 2, you start proving that to yourself with tiny, almost laughably small wins. So instead of I want to write a book, your focus becomes I am a writer. And every single day you write just one paragraph, you're casting a vote for that new identity. Those small wins are the proof your brain needs.
This is all great in theory, but what do you do in that moment? You know, when the urge to procrastinate hits you like a ton of bricks. Let's talk about a practical toolkit you can pull out right away.
Okay, so instead of trying to run away from that uncomfortable feeling, these steps teach you to work with it. First, just notice it. Don't fight it. Just say, okay, anxiety is here. Then, connect what you have to do with that identity you're building. Be kind to yourself, because this stuff is genuinely hard. And then, this is the most important part, take one ridiculously small step. Just open the file. That's it.
We have this so backwards most of the time. We sit around waiting to feel motivated so we can get started. But your brain doesn't work that way. Taking a tiny action is the thing that actually generates the feeling of motivation. Getting the ball rolling is the hardest part. After that, momentum starts to take over.
So look, if you take one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. Stop blaming yourself. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're a human being with hardware that is wired for comfort and efficiency. But now that you understand that hardware, you gain the power to become its architect. You can consciously build better patterns, one small identity-building action at a time.
So, getting a handle on your brain's hardware is a massive first step. But all hardware runs on software, right? Those automatic thoughts, the stories and beliefs that filter your entire reality, well, that's our next lesson. We're going to explore that mental software and learn how you can start to debug the code that might be holding you back.